We've got two brand new beers from Morrisons, suddenly appeared out of nowhere. This one is a New England IPA called Jouska, and it's from Siren, and obviously this one is also from Siren. This is a California IPA called Scene Stealer. What they're going to be like? Well, keep on watching to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. As I said, we've got two beers today. I'm going to review them back to back, see what they're like. First, we've got this New England IPA called Jouska. And this is, it's only 4.7%, quite low for an IPA, but it says it's a tropical, hoppy festival in a can. We used amazing American hops, doesn't say which ones, to push juicy pineapple and ripe mango flavours with zesty citrus notes cutting through. Drinks with a smooth, soft mouthfeel and always hits the spot. So I know what hops it is, but as I said, this one is in Morrisons. Both of these are from Morrisons, actually, both £3. So let's crack open the New England IPA first, get it in the glass and see what it's going to be like. I find Siren beers a little bit on the sort of the low end of quality in terms of the beers that you get in supermarkets. I know a lot of people rave about them. Certainly they do some great stouts, the stuff that they get in the, you know, not in the supermarkets, but I've never really had a really great beer from them. And this is not really what I expect from New England IPA. It's got a slight haze, but it's very light. There's lots of carbonation sticking to the glass there. It's probably the lightest New England IPA that I've seen. I mean, 4.7% may be it. It's almost getting to the point where if you held it in a certain light, you could say, oh yeah, that's a slightly yellowy sort of lager or like a pale ale, really. We've got a finger, but it's an ice white head and it's pretty compacted. Let's see what it smells like. Yeah, similar to what it says on the can. You've got mango, you've got pineapple, you've got lots of citrus fruits. Yeah, the pineapple's got, you know, a little bit sort of quite pungent and it's, I don't know what it is about it, but that's getting my taste buds going. I think it's going to be a nice, refreshing drink. So, cheers, everyone. That's absolutely, get me tongue in. That's actually very, very good. It's light, it's refreshing. It's very thin, very, very thin. It's more like a New England Pale than a New England IPA at 4.7%. I think really that's what it is. But it's got some nice citrus notes. It's got little pockets of pineapple, little pockets of mango, and then it sort of washes itself away. The carbonation is a little bit prickly, and that's why, you know, it very much drinks like a pale ale to me. No bitterness. And to say, it's one of those sort of beers that's just like really refreshing. It's similar to the sort of, like some of the other good pale ales in the supermarkets. It's a pretty good beer, actually. There's not much more I can say about it. As I said, it shouldn't be, it's not an IPA. It's definitely a New England pale ale to me. I don't know why they've stuck the I in. They could have called it a New England pale ale, but that's what it is. It's light, it's a little bit carbonated, but there's some nice citrus flavours in there. It's a smashable, very drinkable beer. I've had enough of that one already, I think. Not that it's bad, but you know, there's not much else I can say. So let's get this one out. So this being a California, I quite like the artwork here, sort of orange on it, quite striking. Now this is 6%, so it's a bit more like an IPA. It says here, it's a real blockbuster, a simple malt bill, crisp and clean, providing the perfect stage for superstar hops, Citra and Simcoe. So it actually says what the hops are in this one. Expect fresh pine, ripe tropical flavours, and a final satisfying resinous bitterness. So this is going to be more your West Coast. Crack it open and get it in a glass. It's been a while since I've had a West Coast, really. And sometimes they can be pretty good, you know, sometimes they can be a bit overly bitter. Quite surprising though, as a West Coast, this is a lot more cloudy and hazy. In fact, you know, you hold this one. I mean, it's still not completely hazy, but that's almost not that, that's almost got a darker hue than this one, really. Not what I would say was a traditional sort of California IPA, West Coast IPA, whatever you want to call it. Let's see what the aromas are like. Yeah, not really picking up much from the aroma. There's a little bit of maltiness. a little bit of pine, but not really picking up much in terms of fruit. And as I say, it's got a slight haze, and again, white, ice white, one finger of head. Let's see what it tastes like. Cheers, everyone. Now that is, it's a little bit all over the place. It's really smooth. It's almost got a sort of a slight creaminess in terms of its mouthfeel, which is very unlike a West Coast beer. But the pine hits you straight away. There's all that sort of big piney, resinous sort of flavour on the front end. And then there's sort of, but it's sort of really, it sucks the moisture out of your mouth a little bit. It's got this sort of real dry bitterness right on the front end, pininess, and you're just thinking somewhere in there's a little bit of flavour, the fruity flavour, and you're getting a little bit of sort of citrus fruits, a little bit of orange rind, a little bit of grapefruit rind, sort of pulpy lemon, but it's a little bit in the background, that sort of harsh, sort of piney bitterness. It really sort of hits you right at the beginning. And to be honest, it's one of those sort of beers that you drink and you go, God, that's really made dehydrate me. I'm going to drink some more. Quite a sort of bit more upfront in terms of the malty profile with this beer. But for a West Coast, it's not bad actually. I mean, it's not that sort of, you know, a lot of West Coasts are sort of very orangey with a very slight haze. But this is getting you a much more sort of, it's almost like what you call your mountain IPAs. It's got a soft mouthfeel. It's sort of, and it's got that haze that you associate with a New England, but it's definitely got that big piney bitterness right up front that almost overtakes any sort of any of the sort of tropical fruit flavors. Tropical. It's very difficult to cut through that piney bitterness on the front end to get any of those sort of tropical flavors. You could maybe say there's a bit of passion fruit, but really when it comes to the fruit, I'm getting the grapefruit because of its bitter flavour that's right up front. It's not bad though. For a supermarket beer, it's all right. But again, you know, they're missing the mark. There are much better beers available in the supermarkets. And that's a shame really, because they're not bad beers. But you know, if I'm going to Morrisons, I'm probably going to pick up a Northern Monk, or I'm going to pick up salt beers. They're going to be my go, or even a North beer. They're my go-to, and I'm going to think, well, do I really want to buy these, or I've had them before? Probably not. So it's a little bit disappointing. I mean, we've had Siren Pails, I think from Sainsbury's. They weren't very good. I think we had one from Tesco. Yeah, not that great. So a little bit of a shame really, because I think Siren have got, you know, they've been around a while. I'm sure some of the first few craft beers I had were Siren. And they weren't bad, certainly at that point in time, but these are not quite up there. Okay, let's get some scores for these. Okay, the scores are in for the two Siren beers, Jouska and Scene Stealer. They're a little bit average, and the scores will represent that. So we'll go first with the scores for the New England IPA, although this is nowhere an IPA. It's a pale ale, 4.7%. Jouska doesn't say what hops are in it. It's all right. I mean, the more I drink it, the more I'm probably put myself off a little bit. But we'll start with the aroma. So the aroma, citrus fruits, lemons, limes, a little bit of pineapple in there really, a little bit of mango, but they're quite sort of dialed back. And that's about it really. I'm giving it 11 for aroma. Appearance wise, when I poured it, this is when I realised this is definitely more of a pale ale than an IPA. Very thin looking. Yes, there's a slight haze. Not much in the way of head. It's not the most eye striking, is that even a word? I don't want to say eye watering, but you know, like it's not really a sort of beer that you pour and go, well, that looks exciting. It just looks a little bit pale ale-esque. I'm giving it a 6 for appearance. Flavour wise, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just very bland. It's got pineapple, it's got citrus fruits, a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of tiny bit of mango in there, but it's thin as hell. It's really, really thin, and it's slightly even watery. You know, it's reminding me a little bit of the sort of supermarket beers of old, that craft beers certainly, that were, you just had this opinion that they were a little bit watered down, and this is what this is a bit like. It's nothing, it's not horrible, and it's quite refreshing, and it's certainly, you could sink quite a few of these, but you compare it with, say, like Salt, Final Straw Pale Ale, it's really good. I'm trying to think of some other pale ales that are really good. There's lots of other pale ales that in supermarkets that are better than this. I'm giving it 31 for flavour. Value for money. Well, for a 4.7% IPA, which is more of a pale ale, there's not much going for, not much flavour. It's a little bit sort of watery, really. So I'm giving it a 7 for value. And my overall experience, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just, there's just nothing to it. It's almost getting to the, it's beer flavoured water, really. And I hate to say that, but it's just, you know, there's so many better beers out there in the supermarkets. There's so many better beers. This is just a little bit just bland, really. It's just bland. So 12 for overall. Totting the scores up, 67. It's a Bon Jovi of beers. It's bland. It's, you know, it's not as good. I think Siren probably were, you know, maybe back in the day they were more like your Slippery When Wet or your New Jersey, but, you know, these days they're more like, I don't even know the names of the new albums, but they're more like the new stuff from Bon Jovi without Richie Sambora. Bland and boring and not much to it, you know. So 67 for that one. So let's go first. I'll excuse the music, the sound out there. Someone's having a party. There's always someone having a better time than you are. I'm drinking these average beers from the supermarket, and everyone else is out there having fun. So this is Scene Stealer, 6% California IPA. Doesn't look like a California IPA. It does taste like one though. So firstly, aroma. Well, there's hardly any aroma. There's more maltiness and a slight pininess, really, but the aroma's so dialed back you can hardly get it. So I'm giving it 10 for aroma. Appearance. Well, it's a bit more, you know, when I looked at it, I thought, oh, this is a bit more appealing. It's not that sort of, you know, very orangey, sort of dark sort of beer. It's that sort of hazy New England sort of beer. And it's more like a mountain IPA. It's quite smooth. But anyway, the appearance-wise, I'm giving it 7. It's not bad, really. There's a little bit more body to it than there is, you know, when you compare it to this one, certainly. So I'm giving it 7 for appearance. Flavour wise though, it's a West Coast, so you expect that piney, resinous sort of bitterness, but it's right bang up front and centre in the flavour. And there's hardly anything else. Little bits of citrus, a little bit of orange and grapefruit peel, but they're very sort of in the background. You get more of this sort of dry bitterness, really, up front, pine, that's it. It doesn't really sort of do much either, you know, similar to the other, you know, to the other Siren beer. It's just a little bit bland in its flavour. If you're a big California / West Coast beer drinker, then you're going to find this very, very average. So I'm giving it 30 for flavour. Value for money. Well, it's the same price and it's a 6%, and it says what hops are in it. It's got a better body as well. So, you know, I'm going to give it 30. No, actually, did I say flavour? Yeah, I've said flavour 30. Value, I'm giving it 7. I think it's not bad, but it's, as I said, there's so many better beers out there. And my overall experience, I can only give it 11, really. I mean, both of these beers they're really inoffensive, you know. There's nothing to get annoyed too much about it, but it's just, they just represent what craft beer was in supermarkets two years ago, you know. You know, and even 2 years ago, there were some much better beers than this, but they taste a bit watery. They taste as if, like, they've made a good beer, but then they've just said, we can't make enough money on this, we've got to water it down, and it just ruins the whole beers. I don't know if that's the case, but for me, they're bang on average, and this beer gets a 65, so it's even lower than the New England IPA. 65, it's another Bon Jovi of beers. To be honest, I'd rather eat a plain peanut than these beers. So if you see these in the supermarket, or if you've had them, I mean, I think they've only just come out, because certainly they're new to me. Not that I go to Morrisons that often, but in Morrisons, £3 a pop. If you buy 4 of them though, you only pay for 3 of them. So I suppose that's not too bad. But if you're in Morrisons, buy Glide, buy the North ones, buy I mean, even the Wild Child one, the Shoot to Thrill, which I raved about when I drank it, but I've drank it since, and I thought, yeah, I may have been a bit overzealous with the review of that one, because it's all right as well. But they are better than these. So let me know, if you've had these before, let me know in the comments what you think. What about Siren Beer? I'm sure I've done a review before, and people have said, oh, Siren Beer, they make some really good stouts, not in the supermarkets. But, you know, why don't they be more like Northern Monk and make beers that are as good in supermarkets as their normal beers? I don't know. So let me know in the comments what you think of Siren. Before I go, I know I should have done this at the front of the video, but one of my pals, Greg, who has Bullman's beer reviews, I keep forgetting to say this, but I said to him that I was going to do it. He's up to, he's only a few subscribers away from 1,000, and you know, any YouTuber wants to get to that sort of 1,000 level. So if you've not seen his beer channel, I'm sure there's a lot of people that watch his as well as mine, but if you've not watched it, then check out Bullman's beer review. He makes really good beer, does really good beer reviews. They're a lot more short and snappy than mine, so some people might like them more than they do mine. But he does all more sort of styles, and he does more the. He's a bit more hardcore, proper northerner. So give him a look out. Look at his channel, subscribe to it. I think you'll enjoy it. So that's enough for me today. And until the next one, keep on rocking.